Hello, I'm Sarah Abel and welcome to the Marriage Challenge, our Christmas edition, brought to you by Care for the Family. And my special guests this month are Katharine and Richard Hill, who we had the pleasure of interviewing. I think it was on our second episode, was it?
No, it was the first ever.
It was the first ever. Oh, I should have remembered that. So if you haven't listened to that one, I highly recommend it. Go back and listen to that one. It was all about speaking encouraging words to each other.
That's exactly right. Speaking words of life. Yeah.
And Katharine and Richard, for anyone who doesn't know them, they've been married 30 years and have 4 children, all grown up now, and 2 married, which has all happened since the last time we interviewed you, I think.
Yeah, busy summer.
Busy and expensive summer.
So today we are going to talk about Christmas. But before we do, I've got a little Mr. and Mrs. Festive question for you both. So these are questions I've asked each of you separately to see how well you know each other and your memories and attitudes to the festive season. So our first question is to Katharine, which is, what is Richard's favourite thing about Christmas? Is it A, Christmas Eve, B, the fact that he gets to eat sprouts for the one time a year, or C, all those presents around the tree?
I would say Christmas Eve, because he always goes on and on about Christmas from about the 1st of December onwards, talks about how excited he is about it, and then from about 11 o'clock on Christmas Day, he's often almost saying, oh, well, it's nearly over. So I would say the anticipation and Christmas Eve.
And what's the answer, Richard?
She's exactly right. I've got Christmas carols going in the car already. We're getting into the spirit and looking forward to Christmas.
So it's the anticipation you love.
Absolutely. It's the same with everything.
I like that. Okay, your question, Richard. What was the most memorable Christmas row or upset that you have had together? Was it A, not going Christmas shopping together one year when you were going to buy your first child's Christmas present? 2, was it using all your best brandy? Or was it C, deciding to redecorate the bathroom a week before Christmas? All sound good, actually. I want to hear about all of them.
Yes, that's right. The great thing about Katharine is she always just tells the truth about everything. So I think probably all 3. But I suspect the one that she's thinking of is my sister-in-law had given me a small a bottle of brandy some years ago, which actually was in the 1930s, and Katharine was making a Christmas pudding and desperately needed some brandy, and I came home to find this had been levered open and used, and to make matters worse, it turned out the first version of the Christmas pudding hadn't worked, it burnt or something, so they'd had a second go at it as well, so there's only a few drops of this precious stuff left in the bottom that I was sort of saving for some date in the future that I hadn't yet thought about. So I'll go with that one.
Go with the brandy, B. And Katharine, what was the answer?
Absolutely right on all counts. Apart from it was the Christmas cake, not the Christmas pudding. And I did burn it, so it all got put in the bin. My logic was this bottle had been sitting in the cupboard for years and no one had ever done anything with it. And so I just thought it was available for culinary use.
I now hide everything in my sock drawer.
Very sensible. So, Christmas. Now, I saw B&Q have got a Christmas tree up that they're selling this year, which is half fake and half real, to help couples who can't decide about how they want to do their Christmas tree. And I can't think why, but this reminded me of the two of you. And there's a picture of this Christmas tree with the real half sort of all beautifully decorated, and then the other half has got sort of mess and hundreds of bits of tinsel and baubles all over it. And apparently this is meant to help couples, although I suddenly thought, well, surely then neither couple gets to look at what they want and they're all going to hate it. But when it comes to kind of traditions and coming together, or Christmas trees, how do the two of you deal with things like that?
Well, I think we might need to go and buy that B&Q Christmas tree because we couldn't be more different about our approach to Christmas, which has come from the families that we grew up in and how we did things then, which we then have assumed is the right way to do it. So in my home, we had real Christmas trees, not artificial. We have white lights, not coloured. Definitely no tinsel. We had Christmas pudding in a round ball with brandy butter, not custard. We had stockings in the morning by the beds, not downstairs. We had no TV, not lots of TV, board games and sort of charades and that kind of thing. Richard's family the total opposite.
I don't think we could buy that Christmas tree, if I'm honest, Sarah, because I think we still managed to have a difference of opinion over which way it should stand, whether it should be upside down or the right way round. One memorable occasion is that the children and I had decorated the tree, we thought very tastefully, and Katharine said nothing that evening, and we all noticed the next day it had been redecorated, rehung and reset. So I think one of the things we've learnt over the years is that Katharine has very strong views about what Christmas should look like in terms of, say, the decorations around the house, and we need to adjust ourselves to fit in with that.
I'm not proud of that episode with the Christmas tree. And actually the following year we had two. We had one that the kids put all their stuff on, and Richard put lots of tinsel on, and I had my
lights.
And coloured flashing lights, and I had my little one with white lights that I quite liked.
And I'm very sad. I still go into the New Year's sales dreaming of finding one of those big snowmen or Father Christmases that I can put on the roof, and Katharine wouldn't see it one day. And it would just be up there, but they're always slightly too expensive, even in the discount of the New Year.
And how have you managed to work together to sort of take the traditions that you came into the marriage with and then kind of create your own ones together?
I think, to be fair to Richard, he's probably been a lot more flexible than me on a lot of those things. And mainly that's because actually I was probably the one buying the tree and working out the decorations, and I probably care maybe more about what it looks like. But we have tried to work together, particularly on the traditions, and trying to work things out that before we had children that we do together that's different from the way that we did it in either home. And the kind of routine of the day, things like in the home where you put particular things, so where the Christmas tree goes, where particular decorations go, same every year. And it doesn't feel Christmas if those things aren't in place.
And what about finances? I mean, it can be a very expensive time, Christmas, and there's that temptation that sometimes we can get into sort of overspending and doing things. Are you good at coming to agreements when it comes to finances and sorting that out between you?
I think it's something we have to keep working at. And what happens is that we'll be very good for a few weeks or even a month or two, and then suddenly it will slip, and that will then lead to some tensions. I can tend to be a little bit over the top at Christmas. Katharine once gave me her Christmas list, and I decided to buy everything on the Christmas list, which did turn out to be rather expensive.
I wasn't complaining, but actually it did hit our bank account rather big time. I think we have tried to plan ahead. We found if we plan ahead, it does work better. But inevitably, life is busy and we don't manage that always. And then we find that at the last minute, we're running around, and because there isn't time and you've got to get something, you end up spending more. But we try and have a bit of an agreement about how much to spend on each other, on the children, on family, on friends. And I actually love making things, so we do that as well. And that sometimes actually isn't cheaper because you have to buy all the ingredients. Things to make. But that's been quite a fun thing to do as well.
And I have just got into trouble this year because I was in one of those DIY stores looking at inflatable Father Christmases and snowmen, wondering about buying one, when my eyes set upon duvet set with reindeer on. And I couldn't resist buying it for the fun. And when I told Katharine at about midnight I'd bought this, because I'd been busting all day to tell her, it didn't go down too well because there was a comment about I thought we were trying to be careful with our finances. This is to recover from the wedding.
Well, what happened is, it was about midnight, we were in bed, and he said, I've got something to tell you. I bought a reindeer duvet cover. I think in my mind, I had this really, what I wouldn't like, sort of bright red Rudolph.
Cartoon
pom-pom on the nose sort of thing. And I thought, I don't want to lie under that. In actual fact, I had to say sorry because I did have a little absence of festive cheer at that moment. And also it was about, I thought we were meant to be saving money. But actually, it is quite nice, and I will be putting it on the bed on Christmas Day.
Excellent. So that was a thumbs up, Richard, in the end. Which probably comes to the next question, which is about expectations at Christmas, because often we can have those kind of unspoken expectations of how we want the day to be, or what's going to happen, or who is going to be there, or what presents we want. How are you two at sort of dealing with those expectations, and do you have very different expectations of how you want the day to go?
Well, Katharine just listed off at the start of this some of the differences we have. I think one of the first ones we had, which I didn't even know such a thing as brandy butter existed. And one of our first Christmases, it probably was the first one, my expectation was just some normal bird's custard would be poured over the Christmas pudding. And this rather granular, sugary thing was produced, and I was told that's what you had with Christmas pudding. So we did have to have a little bit of discussion about that for successive years, and now we have custard and brandy butter for those that want the option.
So I think there's expectations around things like traditions and how the day is going to go. And we have discovered that it's good to plan ahead, to talk about it. There have been occasions when we've had other families maybe coming to join us, when we've had different members of our family coming, and we've had to do the day a little bit differently. And it's been about planning, but also about being flexible and not being so set, I think, in our expectations that we're then disappointed. I think presents we've probably got that wrong often in terms of expectations. So you're expecting X, and the parcel under the tree clearly looks like Y, and just having to, and I'm not very good at being hiding that, so that's sometimes not gone so well.
I don't think that's ever been the case, has it? What's your worst present I bought you?
Oh, I think you talked about that on edition 1, I remember. There was something about some sort of dress or a nightie or something.
Oh, no.
It was a nightie, wasn't it? Was. If you want to hear that story, go back and listen to edition 1. I seem to remember it in my mind.
I just like functional presents. Anything with ratchet in or spanner or something like that is fine by me.
Practical.
That is true.
Practical
That
stuff.
is true. And I do not like practical presents. So I like nice things that I would never, ever, that I don't really need, that I wouldn't buy for myself. Whereas Richard would love me to buy things from B&Q for you for Christmas.
And you've never used that DIY plumbing kit I bought you, have you?
And what about wider family? Because that's another thing. Christmas can often involve other people being around and hospitality. And
I think that never changes when you look at that, because there's always something going on within the families. There's new children coming into your brothers, sisters, uncle, aunts, whatever their families. They grow, the dynamics change. For a number of years now, we've gone over to one of our brothers-in-laws, and the children all insist on playing sardines, which was great when they were 2, 3, 4, 5, but they're now 27 down to about 14, and there's not many spaces left in the house that 20-odd adults can all crowd into.
In the dark.
In the
Sardines
dark.
in the dark, yes. That's a big
So
tradition.
it's lost some of the lustre that it perhaps had before.
Oh, but they all probably still love it, though, don't they? And how do you make sure that it's a time of enjoyment, it's fun, that you enjoy the whole experience together and have time together and time to sort of focus on what's
This, for me,
important?
is one of the areas where Kath and I are slightly apart, and still are after 30 years of marriage. I think we can overcomplicate Christmas and all the things going on around there that just makes it very, very busy. And I'm always trying to say, let's strip back things, let's simplify stuff. But then you get caught up with it all again, and things complicate themselves with lots of people needing to come through, lots of different things happening, trying to plan all the different interactions. This year we've got children coming through at different times, so there's no doubt going to be lots of different meals done for each of those, the different points when they come through. So I think, again, it can turn out to be a little bit busy, and you end up going back to work after the Christmas break feeling that actually you've probably been as busy as you were if you'd be beforehand.
And I actually don't mind that, because I think Christmas is a busy time of year, and it's fun, and it's lots of people, and it isn't the same as a summer holiday going for a walk on the beach. It's a different kind of relaxation. But I love making things. I like doing things from scratch, and we've often had a little bit of debate about that, because Richard said, just go and buy it. But actually I really want to make it because I love doing that. And so we've had to sort of have a little bit of discussion sometimes about how to cut corners or not, and not to make it so complicated that we don't have time just to have fun and to be together, really, and to laugh. I think for us, Christmas is a lot about having fun and laughing, really, and just even over the little tiny things.
So building those shared memories together.
Absolutely.
Now, every month on the challenge, we set a challenge for our listeners. So is there a festive challenge that we could set our listeners, something maybe to do with one of those areas that we've talked about that would help them?
I would say think about the things that you both bring to Christmas together, the different traditions that you have, and intentionally create a new one that can work, for years to come. Most of the traditions probably that we have that work well are ones that just happen. But actually be a bit intentional, think about it. And it could be anything. It could be to do with the way that you decorate the house. It could be what you do on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, or whatever. But make that a tradition just for the two of you that is special for you.
Excellent.
And I think I would say that Christmas is a special time of year. It's about the celebration. It is about, as Katharine said, having fun. And maybe sometimes in the relationships you have with people coming through, just cut a bit of slack. don't get too worked up about things, and make sure you enjoy that time.
Excellent. So our challenge is actually to have fun and to come up with a tradition. So that's all we've got time for on this challenge. We'll be back again in January with another marriage challenge. Do go to our website, careforthefamily.org.uk, and you can sign up there for updates about the marriage challenge. And if you do, you can also get 20% off at the Care for the Family online bookshop. But from all of us here, thank you, Katharine and Richard, for joining us today. And for you listening, we do hope that you have a very happy Christmas wherever you are and whatever you're doing. From all of us, goodbye.
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 You have been listening to the Marriage Challenge podcast. For further information about our courses, resources and events, visit us at www.careforthefamily.org.uk.